Start.
We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Let me share my screen, sound. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so we'll get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanurmardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurun Krishnam Vande Jagadgurun. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening everyone. So let's continue on. We are in chapter 2, and chapter 2 is also called the heart of Bhagavad Gita. So when we go through this chapter, it pretty much provides us with the entire range, I would say, for most parts of Bhagavad Gita. And then, of course, every chapter will give us more depth around the topics that we're going to discuss. So on this journey, today I have picked up a shloka. Again, it is one of those concepts we need to understand, and I'm going to introduce spiritual laws today. Some of the spiritual laws, that is irrefutable facts. Like we have material laws, law of gravity, law of thermodynamics, law of optics, and so many other laws. We have certain laws in spirituality as well. And that would help us look at the topic that we are going to discuss. See, Lord Krishna is going to say very interesting thing today, like he's doing throughout the entire dialogue that unfolds. But that will help us. We will try to connect the dots around that. What Lord Krishna is saying, what does it mean for us? And of course, the topic that we have for today, what is our age? Since when we have been existing. So let's get started. And I picked up a shloka which will set the context for this. I'm going to recite it, and then maybe we'll pick up 5 or 6 hands so that we have enough time to complete, and then and we'll try to rotate people with hands so that everybody gets a chance. At the same time, we'll try to limit it to 5 or 6 people so that we can continue to make progress as well. All right, let me recite it, and then you're welcome to follow along. Na tvevaham jatu nasam na tvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. Okay, do we have any volunteers who want to recite
Okay.
it?
Mridula ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Na tvayvaham jatu nasam na tvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param.
Very nice, Mantula ji. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Tom ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Na tvevaham jatu nasam na tvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param.
Okay, if I were to guess another participant, that first participant's name would be Jerry today, right? Jerry. Okay. All right, let's take a few more hands. See, Jerry is there. Started preempting the names now. Let's pick up maybe 3 more hands and then we'll get started. 3 or 4 more hands. Let's take new
Yes.
participants. I see Anil Sondiji, maybe the first time.
Anil Sondiji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, if you
Please
have new
go ahead.
participants, I strongly encourage you to please take a shot at recitation.
Radhe Radhe Radhe.
Yeah. Yeah.
नत्वे वाहं जातु नासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्.
Very nice.
Radhe
Anilji,
Radhe.
where are you joining us from?
I am joining from New Delhi.
Welcome to the session. Is it your first session?
No, I have attended a couple of sessions already.
Okay. Welcome to the session. Pleasure to have you. Love to hear from you more often. All right, let's pick up a few more hands real quick.
Srivatsanji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Srivatsan. I think Srivatsan is back after a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Radhe Radhe Nitinji.
Radhe Radhe.
Natvevaaham jatu nasam natvam nemi janadipah na chaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayamatah param.
Wonderful, Srivatsan. Srivatsan has been one of our best reciters on Bhagavad Gita. Glad to hear you back. Welcome back. All right, maybe two more hands.
Yes, so I'll take.
Let's pick up
Samji.
real quick. I think we'll be able to cover. So let's pick everybody, but no more after these last.
Radhe Radhe Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa nachiv nabhishyaham sarve vyamatah param. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful, very nice, Samji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's take the remaining hands as well.
Yes, Rupaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Rupaji, welcome back.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Seeing you after a long time actually.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Na tvevaham jatu nasam natvam nemi janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyayam sarve vayamata param.
Wonderful, thank you very much. All right, let's
hope I did not lose that grip on the reading.
No, you're doing fine.
Thank
you very much. Good to hear you, Rupaji. Okay, let's quickly take maybe a couple more hands and then we'll get started.
Yes, Sumeshji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Sumeshji.
Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamata param.
Wonderful, Sumesh. Very nice. I saw Jyoti had raised her hand as well. You want to recite, Jyoti? You want to give it a shot? Go ahead.
Please raise your hand again, Jyoti. Or I'll just unmute you. Wait. Yeah, Radhe Radhe Jyoti, please go ahead.
Go ahead. Radhe Radhe. Then I see Neelam ji today as well. So let's give and then yes, go ahead, Jyoti. Quick.
Natvevaham jatu nasam na tvaneme janadhipa na chaiv na bhavishyamah sarve vayamah param.
Very nice, Jyoti. Good try. Keep practicing. You'll be fine. Okay. Neelam ji and maybe one more and then we have to get started. I think last two we'll take.
Okay, Radhe Radhe Neelam ji, please go
The
ahead.
remaining, let's make a note of them and they can do it tomorrow. I think Suresh, she is probably new as well, or Jerry, she wants to. Let's quickly do that.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamata param. Radhe Radhe.
Neelam ji, where are you joining us from?
I am joining from India, Jammu.
Okay. By the way, for the benefit of people, she is my mother-in-law. Okay. That's why I asked. Okay. All right. Maybe one more and then we'll get started.
Suresh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Last one, Suresh ji. And then Pragi ji, Sairam ji, and Jerry ji, you will get the first privilege tomorrow. Okay. Let's quickly
Yes,
get
we'll
started.
Okay, Radhe Radhe, everyone. Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe, Suresh ji.
न त्वेवाहं जातु नाशं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम.
Thank you very much. All right. So let's get started. So Lord Krishna is saying to Arjun in this particular shloka, Arjun we'll see what leads up to this particular movement, but let's for now focus on what Lord Krishna is saying on this one. He's saying, never was there a time when I did not exist. Pay close attention to every word. There was never a time when I did not exist. Okay, the conception of time starts, that's a frame of reference we have. From whenever we come into existence, this creation comes into existence, which you can date back using carbon dating or however we want to do that. So our Big Bang, or whenever we were unleashed from the Mahodar of Mahavishnu, that's when time starts. Now God is saying, there was never a time when I did not exist. And then further on, he goes on to say, nor you. He's telling it to Arjun. Nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. It's a very, very, thoughtful, profound statement if you think about it. In physics, we had studied, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It reminded me of that too, in some ways. Now, what it's saying, we have always existed, and kings and everybody you see around in this battlefield, so have they. And more importantly, they have not only existed but will continue to exist. They will never cease to be. It's a very comforting shloka for those who are paranoid about death. Actually, they're not going anywhere. All right, now let's get a little deeper. Now, that is fine. We have always existed. That, of course, begs the question that if that is the case, let's get started then. Leading up to this shloka. So in 210, we covered up to 2.9. We are doing a quick summary, right? For the benefit of people who are joining in new, we are going by the sequence in chapter 4. That is where we are. However, for the benefit of everybody and the fact that we keep on revising the key concepts, we are doing a quick journey into chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, leading up to where we are. And the way we do it, I pick up the salient features or the key highlights of that chapter and some of the shlokas. We just do a quick rundown, not getting too much into detail, just so that we can continue to move forward and at the same time covering some of the key concepts that we really need to know before we move forward. So in 210, Dhritarashtra, he says, oh Dhritarashtra, Sanjay is explaining. Thereafter, in the midst of both the armies, Shri Krishna smilingly spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun. So if you remember in 2.9, Arjun, he fell silent. Just silent. I will not fight. Okay, he gave up and he put his case in front of Lord Krishna why he feels he should not fight. Okay, he's looked at all the reasons for that. And then Lord Krishna says, while you speak words of wisdom, you are mourning for which is not worthy of grief. The wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So Lord Krishna immediately chastises him. He shakes him out of his comfort zone, say, although you're talking big things, you're very compassionate, feeling pitiful towards your relatives and everybody, but these are not the words a wise person would say, because wise people, and the definition of wise is not the worldly wise we talk about. Right? It's not the wise which we talk about. Early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. That wise is one part, material wise. Here, the wisdom that is being spoken about is the spiritual wisdom, where you understand the deeper concepts and then act from that position of your understanding, as opposed to giving arguments which for Lord Krishna are very shallow. Okay, and we'll see why. He's saying neither for the living nor for the dead. Then he goes on to say the shloka that we are talking about. There was never a time when I did not exist. And There will never be a time where we all will cease to exist. Okay, so we are not going anywhere. First of all, that's very comforting. So you can make a mental note of it and feel good and relaxed about it. And then he further goes on to add, just as the embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age, similarly at the time of death, the soul passes into another body. The wise are not deluded by it. Okay, it's just a temporary pit stop, the death. The death or the shedding of gross body is just a temporary pit stop. The soul continues its journey from one gross body to another, to another, to another. And what is the science that dictates which gross body it will end up getting and how often? That is a different topic that Lord Krishna is going to explain as well. But let's for now understand that the death is just shedding of gross body. Soul is not going anywhere. So people for whom we mourn, if you really think about it, they're not going anywhere. It's just that they have completed their journey in this particular lifetime and they have moved on in their journey. And so shall we all as well on one day. Okay, this is how this journey of life is for all of us. Now, this begs the question, of course, what is our age? So there is something called physical age, then there is something called biological age, and then we'll bring in the concept of spiritual age. Now, physical age, biological age, we understand. Physical age is based on how many summers or winters you have seen. Biological age is dependent upon how fit you are, how much yoga, pranayam, and other good active water you have drank, which basically maintains your longevity and youth, so to say. So somebody could be 60, but their physical age might, their biological age might be 40 because they are able to, keep themselves fit through good practices. We are talking about spiritual age. Now, the answer for this is, I'm sure a lot of you would know. Anybody wants to do that real quickly? Okay, I've already put the answer. We are as old as God or as young as God, depending upon however you want to look at it. Okay. Now, you would say, okay, then what is God's age? What is God's age? It's a fair question. As old as us. And then you would say, okay, fair enough. What is the age of both? We still want to know the age. Right. So the answer is as old as each other. Now you can split your hair, but this is the fact. Now you can ask this question in a different way. You'll say, since when we existed? Right? That is also a fair question. If nobody is willing to tell us the age, then tell us for how long we have existed. So the answer for that is ever since when also did not exist. In Hindi, it is said, jab se tab bhi nahi tha. That is how long we have existed and will continue to exist. Okay, so we are not going anywhere. We will continue to exist, and it is a journey. It is an ongoing journey. So much so that even after God realization, it's not that we will evaporate or we will lose our existence. We will continue to exist. Okay, that is how it goes. Even for people who merge with God, let's say that is the goal you have made. That merging is like you mix oil droplets with water. Can it mix? No, it still retains its identity. So we are not going anywhere. We will exist and we will continue to exist. Okay. So feel relaxed, good about it. All the loved, beloved ones that we feel or scares us or gives us an anxiety, though nobody is going anywhere. Okay. We all will continue to repeat here, and everybody is perfectly safe in that sense. And it's just an opportunity to become as perfect as our Father is, so that we can get all that He has to share with us. That is the whole purpose of this existence. Okay, so that we have an opportunity to perfect ourselves and become like our Father, spiritual Father. That's all it is. Rest all game that we have created in our head, attachments that we have created, fears that we have created, agendas that we have created other than cleaning ourselves, our antakaran, are all self-enforced agendas our mind has created for us for whatever reason, and that reason also we will take a look at, right? So this is basically quickly tackling the question that we are talking about here, right? Even in case of when the battle got over, Dhritarashtra asked Krishna, what did I do to meet this fate of losing my 100 sons? It is very tragic for somebody to lose 100 sons, right, in one lifetime. So Krishna said, go back one lifetime back. And in previous lifetime, they used to have boons. They could, those people were spiritually advanced and they had those kind of mystic powers. So Dhritarashtra was one of them. He could go back one lifetime and he didn't see anything. He said, I can't see anything or put a finger on something that would make me deserve this kind of a fate. Krishna says, go back another lifetime. He said, I've gone back. I don't see anything. He said, go back another lifetime. He said, I've seen that. I don't see anything. Krishna says, go back 50 lifetimes. He said, I don't have the ability. Krishna says, all right. 50 lifetimes back, you were a king and you were out in the forest and you saw swans. They were in peaceful state. And there are people who are not peaceful and they don't like others' peace also. It's like, okay, I'm not peaceful, but how come the other person is peaceful? So he had that emotion for those swans. He simply killed them. And because of that, now God knows which prarabdha he needs to give in which lifetime. It's not like immediately he'll repay you back in the immediate, next birth. Not necessarily. He will only know when to do that. And then he gave him that basically all the swans that he had killed. He made them blind first, and I think killed them. Both things happened, and because of which this is the prarabdha he was met with. And then he asked, why did you wait for 3 lifetimes or 50 lifetimes? Krishna said, you need to have enough merit to even acquire 100 kids. So to acquire 100 kids require a lot of punyas and merit. So he had to wait out that time period, get those 100 sons, and then bear the fruit of that. That is how things can work out. So we cannot say that some people say Swarg is here, hell is also here, whatever will happen will happen. No, that is fine. But there actually Swarg, hell and heaven also is there. The actual bearing of fruit also happens. We don't know, maybe God gives some of the results in this lifetime only, but then some of them are meted out at an appropriate time and only God knows. Nobody has a formula for that. So Krishna is telling Arjun that you know about me and you in this lifetime you're talking about, which is a fair question. But I know you since time eternity. I know every sankalp, every thought of every lifetime or of every living soul on this earth. That much big data God maintains for everybody. We don't even remember what we were thinking at the same time yesterday. God knows that. Every sankalp that we have made, God knows that. Across every lifetime of every soul. Okay. That is why He's God, right? All right, let's move on. Jab se tab bhi nahi tha. So that is the key concept to understand. The dimension of time comes when this creation unfolds. Before that, what is the time there? Nothing. So the shloka summary, let's quickly look at some of the concepts. So at Apollo, if you look at Socrates, he said that to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. The ABC of wisdom starts when you start first questioning, who am I? This is the stepping stone for real wisdom, spiritual wisdom. Even in Apollo Hospital at Delphi, it is inscribed, know thyself. Now there's a story that this guy Socrates, he was in Athens, he was walking, a local legend goes like this: he was walking on the street and then he bumped into someone, and that person asked him, who are you? Can't you see where are you? Who are you? How do you walk? And he said, my dear friend, I have been pondering upon that question for last 40 years. Who am I? And if you come to know, do let me know as well. So that was Socrates. Some of the great philosophers, they have been pondering upon this question. If people who have gotten the benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita, that answer is given directly, including the string field theory that Einstein was working for, by the way. But then Socrates, he had that question. That means, that was why he's considered one of the great thinkers of modern times. Let's move on. Now, creation, if you look at it, it's a combination. If you look at it, man is body, soul. An individual or man is imperfect, permanent body, and perfect and permanent soul. Soul is permanent, body is impermanent, and body is not us. And in fact, there are 3 entities: God, soul, and Maya. And these 3 entities are eternal. Nobody created anyone. The Jiva Shakti, the Maya, the soul, God and Maya, these are eternal entities. Nobody created anybody and nobody can destroy anybody. Okay, let's understand this concept. They are all eternal entities. They will always continue to exist. It is said, why did God create Maya? Why did God create us? I mean, we have always existed. It's a little difficult to understand, comprehend to begin with, but these energies and energetic have always existed. See, it's like there's a person who has always existed, right? And when the person has always existed, his energies have always existed eternally. It's not like first he existed, then he created his energy. And that person had all aspects to him. He had his internal energy, he has his own energy, and then he had certain Jeev energy part of it, which we are part of, which we have already looked at, right? So it's a fragmental parts of God, Mame Vansho, Jiva Bhute, Mame Vansho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. He's explained that, Lord Krishna, that all the souls are fragmental parts of me only. And they are all eternal. They have existed ever since God has existed. There was not even a moment's delay. Okay, and that is the only thing we can challenge God. That you are not senior to us and we are not junior to you. And second thing we can challenge him to some extent, finite extent, is that we are also divine, you are also divine. And after that, the competition ends. Okay, now he is Vibhu, we are Anu. He is Mayadhish, we are Mayadhin. He is Sarva Shaktiman, we are Alpa Shaktiman. He is Satchidanand, we are Anusat, Anuchit, Anuanand. Okay, the competition has already ended. Two things we can compete with God and really challenge him there, if that makes you feel better. Okay. All right. So next move, Vedic tradition. This whole divine knowledge is imparted. It begins with the knowledge of the self. That is why the premise of Gita starts when Lord Krishna introduces the concept of soul. And if Socrates had this piece of information, which he was pondering for 40 years, that would have swept him off his feet. He said, wow, Eureka movement, got it. Who am I? Lord Krishna had told that 5,000 years back. And then this self-entity that we are talking about is not the material body. It is eternal, just like God is eternal. Okay? We are eternal and we are capable of getting the true inheritance of God, which is becoming like him. And we are not going anywhere. And basically, God is willing to give us all of that as well. So we have to keep all these facts in our mind, which our scriptures are telling us. Okay? It should really make us feel empowered and good in that sense. And there's absolutely nothing to lose in this game. If you've seen the movie Matrix, that's essentially what's happening, that right? What we think actually, but you are actually perfectly safe. If you really crack this code, you have everything to gain here. All these worries and all that stuff count for nothing. When we sleep, even then our world ceases to exist. It's only when we wake up, this whole world comes about, our worries, the envies, the problems, the stress and stuff like that. So scriptures are telling us now about time you start living in that state and start making real progress towards your ultimate game, which is God realization. Now, why do we keep repeating in this world is a question we need to tackle. It's a very important question. Why do we keep on repeating here? It's not that we are truly enjoying here or have found the bliss or it's giving us the kick, but still there is something is going on which is making us repeat in this world. Okay. Let's look at this question. We really need to think about it because it will give us a perspective of where we are missing the trick, really, lifetime after lifetime. Let's go. Now let's introduce some spiritual laws now, just to understand this. I said we will introduce some spiritual laws like material laws. The first law is you have no choice but to seek happiness. Okay, you can raise your hand if you say no. Okay, I don't agree with this law. No matter what you do, you really don't have a choice but to seek happiness. Now, if somebody disagrees, you can say, okay, and we can have a good discussion on this. It's a law. Being a soul, you have no choice but to seek happiness. No matter what you do, even if you cry, you're seeking happiness. And if you're a masochist, inflicting pain, still you're seeking happiness because that gives you happiness. Nobody does anything without the prayojan or the objective of seeking happiness, and that is a spiritual law. Nobody can refute that. Whatever practice you are doing, whatever endeavor you have taken, it is for happiness. And we do contradictory things for that. What contradictory things? We sleep because that gives us happiness, sukh. Then we wake up because that gives us happiness. If we keep on sleeping, it will be like, okay, I've had too much. We eat because it gives us happiness. We stop eating because now we've had enough. It will hurt our stomach. We embrace somebody, it gives us happiness. And after a while, say, all right, enough of it. Like even a mother and a child, if they're meeting after a long time, they will hug each other tightly. And after a while, they say, okay, I've had my share of it. Now you stay there. So everything that we do is basically for seeking happiness. And there's a reason for that. We've spoken about it. The reason for that is that we are fragmental parts of God. God is the ocean of bliss. So being his fragmental parts, the part has to seek the whole. That is how the nature is designed. We look at it, water vapor becomes rain, cloud, snow, river, back to ocean. That cycle keeps on repeating. What comes from mud goes back to mud. Similarly, we have no choice but to seek happiness. Let's accept that. And this is a big, kind of a wonder of the world, you can say, because each one of us are different. Whether we look at our nationalities, caste, creed, upbringing, no matter which country, caste, creed, nation we belong to, even our fingerprints are different. Our retina scan is different. Our body odor is different. That is how unique God has made each one of us. Right? I'm in a security, so we look at biometrics as one of the factors for security, right? Face recognition or fingerprint recognition and all that stuff, multi-factor, the second factor and all that stuff. Why? Because everybody is unique. However, when it comes to seeking happiness, we have that commonality. Why? Because we are all children, fragmental parts of God. We have no choice but to seek happiness. So this was law 1. Now let's introduce a couple of other laws. Law 2, make a note of it. Okay, these laws nobody can refute. You can challenge it in any court. Law 2 is you can't extract happiness from material world. Okay, that is the law. If somebody has, or you think your friend has, the last friend you saw on Instagram or Facebook, okay, no, nobody has. That is just a facade of this world that I'm not happy, somebody else is. Or today I'm not happy, tomorrow after I have this, it will make me happy. Or right now I'm not happy, but I have a game plan to be happy. It's never going to happen. It's called life on 99, and it will continue to be like that forever. And there's a reason for that too. Okay, let's look at it. You look at it, this is water, looks like milk. It looks like milk. This is what Maya is. It gives you an illusion that you can take butter out of it. Can you extract butter out of it? This water, lime water? No, although it looks like milk, never. No matter how hard you try, you will never extract milk out of it. And this is the illusion of Maya that we all succumb to lifetime after lifetime. Okay. That I will get happiness. I will nicely retire and then be happy. Or, you know what, I'm not happy, but that other person whom I know is happy. You go ask that other person, he'll say, you know what, I'm not happy, but I know somebody who's happy. And that illusion continues. It is the mirage or the hallucination that Maya creates. Nobody can extract happiness. Let's simply accept it. Okay? This is the truth. This is the law number 2. Now let's get to law number 3. Law number 3, I'll see. It's like this. This guy, he has all the best intentions because he wants to go to Kashmir. He wanted to go to Kashmir. Kashmir, as you see, is on the north direction. That is what he wanted to do. But he started walking towards Kanyakumari, just the opposite direction. Okay. Now, that brings us to the law. The third law is you have a choice where to seek happiness, okay, which is reassuring. You don't have a choice but to seek happiness, but you do have a choice where to seek happiness. This is also a law. God has not made us robots, that he says, all right, you need happiness, I know, because you are my fragmental parts. So this is where you go and seek happiness. He said, you have a choice. Now, the problem that has happened is this guy was supposed to go to Kashmir and he started walking towards Kanyakumari. Now, if the guy comes to know that my direction, I got it all wrong, what does this guy need to do? Just turn the direction. That's it. Yes, Samji, Jairiji, you have to unmute yourself.
Radhe
No.
Radhe.
I thought of answering your question. You just have to turn, take a U-turn.
He just has to turn. Very true. It's a common sense would tell you, right? Otherwise, that person will keep on walking further, further, and further away from it. So these are the three laws. I'll introduce some more laws as we go along. When you say law means something that like when we talk about a material law, it is something that is irrefutable, right? All the material laws, they are irrefutable because things are like Newtonian laws or the newer laws that come in, certain theories support that and they follow a certain principle. Similarly, these spiritual laws are truths. Nobody can refute them. And we will keep on introducing these as we go along, just so that we understand why we are stuck in this realm and some of the things that our mind creates a hallucination about, that this is like that, this is like that. These things will set it in black and white, no gray areas whatsoever. Okay. Now, again, we have not tackled the question that we spoke about. Why do we keep on repeating in this world? First part, we looked at the God each part of it. Let's continue on that. So this is Matrix. I'm sure a lot of you would have seen this movie. It's a pretty interesting movie, and it was inspired by Bhagavad Gita only, by the way. Now, how to break this matrix? That is the question, right? We all have been participating in this matrix for a long time, and that long time technically is the 7th Manvantar, and one Manvantar is basically 14 Mahayugas, and one Mahayuga is basically 1000 basically Mahayugas, and one Mahayuga is all the 4 yugas combined, from Kali Yuga, Dwapar, Satyug, and Treta. So we are in the 7th Manvantar of that. So that means long time we have been existing, and still we are participating in this game of matrix, and we have not cracked it as yet. Now let me introduce another dynamic, and that's where we can have a little bit of discussion before we move further. You look at these guys, right? They are vicariously enjoying the movie. You see that? So don't we want to enjoy the movie like these guys are doing? They have made a choice and they are too hung up in it and they don't want to get out of it. Right? So this is essentially what happens in our life as well. We have made a choice to enjoy this. Right? Forgetting the reality that there's a screen where the projector is just projecting all those images. Nobody has told us that. And we continue to live vicariously, living all the emotions and choosing to live this movie lifetime after lifetime. And it is our own choice which makes us repeat here. Now, karma, binding karma, all that stuff will bring that into equation. But first and foremost thing is, it's our own choice. We don't want to get out of this movie. Okay? We are not satisfied. We always have desire. This is unfulfilled. And we have chosen to participate in this movie and continue to play this game. It's our own choice. God has not enforced it. We have been facing the world, the Maya, and we continue to say, all right, this lifetime, some desires were fulfilled, some were not. And we end up achieving the object of our meditation. That's what Lord Krishna says. Whatever we meditate upon is what we end up achieving. And what is meditation? Anything that holds your attention or your thought persists on something for a period of time. And what are we meditating upon? For most part of our day, it's not God. Unless we have started practicing Karma Yoga, it is world or worldly related matters or worldly related desires or worldly related regrets or worldly related ambitions. Okay, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. I should have done that. I could have done that. It's mostly related to world. So if you are meditating upon world, is there a reason for you to get out of this movie, as these guys are so hung up on this movie? Similarly, we are participating in this movie, we don't want to get out of it. And spirituality is just telling us, it's putting that light, right? When the movie is going on and somebody comes and puts the light on, you'll say, oh, what happened? You know, all the fun was spoiled. But he's just showed you the truth. It's a white screen, and the reality comes to the fore. And spirituality is essentially trying to do that only, shaking us out of this comfort zone that we are in, watching this movie and participating it so indulgently that we don't want to get out of it. Spirituality, Bhagavad Gita reading, going through the scriptures, trying to contemplate on this knowledge is basically to shake ourselves out of this slumber that these folks are in. Okay. There we start making or dovetailing our attention to things that actually uplift us and take us closer to our goal. So that is the idea. Anybody has any comments on this point? Because even I used to wonder, why do we keep on doing that? Now, binding karma and all that stuff will bring that as well. You know, that is a part and parcel of when we read Bhagavad Gita. But even before that, do we really, I mean, it's a question we need to ask. Do we really want to get out of it? Have we made God as our priority? That is where the true bliss is. Like that guy who was supposed to go to Kashmir is walking towards Kanyakumari, but he's still not convinced that, you know, he needs to go with full force on the other direction. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
Surender ji had sent some messages. So first one was about happiness, which means khushi, versus bliss, which means anand. The second part of his statement is our soul's swadharm is anand. So you can probably take this.
What is the question? I didn't understand the question.
More than question, I think he's trying to say, what I understand is he's trying to say that what we think is happiness in this material world is not truly happiness. True happiness and anand is what we get when we walk towards God.
That's true. See, we spoke about this concept. The law number 3, law number 2, you can't extract happiness from the material world. Like we cannot extract butter out of water or limestone, even though it looks milky, you cannot. If your mind is telling you, no, I will, because I have a formula, then your mind is playing tricks with you. It's about time you just go with the spiritual law and take it, you know, as a truth, absolute truth around it. Yes, SSSG. And we do have a choice. Where do we seek happiness? We always have a choice. That is also a law. And we do not have a choice but not to seek happiness. That is also a law. These all three are laws. Yes, SSSG. And then I'll introduce a fourth law I've not put in here, but I'll introduce that. It is a very important one as well to understand. But let's first take the hand that we have, and then I'll introduce that.
Yeah, Radhe, sir. Sir, I have one question.
You can call me Nitin, okay?
Okay.
Nitin is fine, yeah.
Okay. So our existence is very minimal as compared to our past and future, because we are saying, as per Gita second chapter, that we continue to exist in different forms. But then why God has not given pointers in Bhagavad Gita or elsewhere to easily assimilate our existence outside of this minimal existence? That means, why don't we have the knowledge of our past with some effort, and where we would be after this lifetime? That also knowledge is not so easily accessible. So why God has kept it as He has exposed Bhagavad Gita fundas for living in this infinite small time, but we have existed for so many times. So why that knowledge is not with us?
Sure. Where are you joining us from? What's your name, sir?
Sir, I'm from Pune, Subodh.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair question. Yeah. Subodhji, thank you for that. So why does not God let us know our past or future, right? He was talking about that part, right? Why He has not given us the knowledge to know about our past and stuff? God has, it's part of His mercy only. He has given us what we need to progress, and He is not burdening us with things which are not going to be helpful for us in this spiritual journey. Now, what will you do by knowing that, you know, you were an insect and this is how an elephant came and stamped over you, or as a scorpion, this is the fate we met, or when we became Indra, how nice it used to be, and look what have I become now. All these things that are not going to add any value to our spiritual growth, because the agenda of life is to cleanse our antakaran and progress towards God. Now, if we get burdened, even in this life, we have so many worries. This person said that to me 2 years back, and how could he speak to me like that? Now, if that God acts the baggage of previous lifetimes also, you'll say this guy was my enemy in my past life, and now he pretends to be my friend in this life. What purpose will it serve? It's a mercy that God does not make us remember things which are not of any use to us. So focus on the present is there. Why to burden ourselves with past and future kind of a thing? And future anyway, we are carving out. Because of our past karma, our present prarabdha is decided. And because of our present kriyaman, our future prarabdha will be decided. So God has given us what we need to progress, as opposed to giving us things which are going to complicate our life even further. It's not really going to help us operate effectively if we start thinking about everything, what happened to this. There was a lady who did a life regression, and she came to know she was an executioner in previous life. I know that one of my friends, she got so panicked, and how could I be an executioner? I used to behead people in my previous life. Now, how will it help her? I don't know how many days she spent just contemplating on the fact that I used to be. We all have been in multiple lifetimes. God knows what all we have done in the past, right? And we could have possibly have been Dev Yonis as well. So there's no point in knowing that because it's not truly going to help us. And it's God's mercy that He makes us forget. In other words, Lord Krishna says, I am the memory, I am the forgetfulness as well. So He knows what is important for us. And as part of His mercy, He gives it to us. And as part of His mercy, He makes us forget as well. Both birth and death are so painful experiences, it erases most of our memories. And that is again part of the design of this creation. Hope that answers part of your question. All right. Yes, maybe we can take real quick a couple of questions and then move forward. I had a couple of other things to cover as well, by the way.
Yeah. Surender ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go.
Radhe, Surender ji.
Radhe Radhe Prabhu, thank you.
Radhe Radhe.
I think there is a limitation in the English language. The word happiness may not be.
Yes. Anand is much beyond happiness. Yes.
I think whenever we ask somebody when he is in the language of the soul, क्या चाहिए? सुख और शांति. सुख और शांति. सुख शांति चाहिए मुझे. So that sukh doesn't mean happiness. That sukh means anand.
Yes.
Shanti means, so therefore, we are always striving for peace and anand.
Yep, very true. Joy, bliss, peace, all that stuff, it's all combined into the bliss aspect of it. And obviously, English language has a limitation. It doesn't cover that part. So Anand then is all encompassing word, which covers all of these things. Very truly said. When we talk about divine bliss, there's no direct synonym in English for that, right? So, okay. Yes. Any other questions?
We have 2 more hands raised. I don't know. So
let's quickly take them, and then before that, you wanted to make some announcements as well. There's another thing I wanted to announce. We put some videos, maybe you can put that link. And if you do watch, which I see quite a few people do, a lot of videos. One of the things that our team is trying to do is to, bring out certain shorter reels. Like, for example, if there's a small concept that we have discussed, truly aha moment, right, that we have, because this knowledge that Maharajji and Swamiji has made it so accessible for us in such a simple ways, if it reaches out to people, it can be really mind-blowing concepts, right? So in order to expand that outreach, if you're watching videos and you want to help out with logging those timestamps as you watch those videos, please fill in your name in attendance tracker. Our team, they would need help in simply knowing the timestamps, things that you think we could create short reels from. And then our video team, editing team, Insta team will do their magic on top of it. So this would be a small seva in the sense that you're anyway watching the video for the session, you want to revise it or you missed out on that. But in addition to that, you can capture those timestamps for us. You can put it in the feedback tracker. We'll have you tie up with our team, and then they can simply go out and create some interesting shots. And for that, to expand the outreach for this Tattva Gyan that we, Swamiji and Maharaj has given us on a plate. So request you to look at this opportunity, and that will be of huge help as well. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to make some announcements before I move on to my next slide?
There's just one announcement, and I'll post this as well. Like some of us might have attended the workshop for the Garba dance, and there is a repeat of that, continuation of that this weekend. So whoever can attend, please utilize that opportunity and learn Garba just before Navratri comes. And yeah, I think that's the main announcement from the
Seva, is there any Seva announcement? Seva of the day or anything?
Seva, you just said, I think like this is like a very exciting Seva if people can just help us with that, you can watch the videos and tell us what part of the video, like a short part, a 90-second part that we could take out as a clip. So you can give us the timestamps and then we can make short clips which can further go, and the bliss that you have felt during the session can also be felt by many others.
Yeah, like small concepts. Let me give you an example. When I first heard this concept that something which is mine is not I, very simple concept, right? My car, my house, my body, my mind, my intellect. That means that is not me. So just this much nugget is good enough. If it reaches out, that will make people ponder and think about it, right? So those kind of things we are looking at. Plus, I think we have a group where we do that Save of the Day. I think Tejal ji is leading that. If you're part of that, do take a look at that. Maybe Sandhya, we can bring that as well. What is it that everybody can focus on? They can share, like, and comment around that. And like, I know a lot of new participants have joined as well. Another area where you can help us is to help spread the word around. So if you have your feed, Facebook, WhatsApp, please share the link of our sessions so that other people can benefit from it as well. Because we create a lot of content and put in effort, more people join, they'll benefit from it. So that is another way you can help us spread the word around. So please do that. I see you. So many of you have brought in your friends, family, and all. It's word of mouth, and that goes a long way, especially if you're seeing the benefit and relishing it. Now let's move. The other thing I wanted to discuss, action of the day, and I know we've been talking about fear, right? So about fear, we reached a stage where we started off saying, let's first have a journal, which if you don't have, I hope you've already started with it. You start journaling the fears that we have, and then the cause of these fears. How did this fear start to begin with? And then we went into the circle of control, or is it beyond my control, right? Is it something you can do something about? Or you not? And then we created a table. So we were at this stage. Today I'm going to introduce couple of tools based on Swamiji's lecture, which are very, very helpful. Okay, he so beautifully articulates it and puts a framework around it. So I thought it would be worth bringing it to the session. And thank you, Shri Ramya, for sharing that with us. Let's look at how to handle fear, some of the practical tools around it as well. Okay, maybe we can share some stories if this framework has been helping you. So the first one, if you look at this frog, now if this frog were to be put into boiling water, it will be very cruel. Okay, I know that. Let's not do that. And Menaka Gandhi would definitely not like it, but this is just to illustrate the concept that if you put this frog in boiling water, it will not be able to take it, right? It will give it a shock treatment. Okay, let's say this boiling water is not something that is going to kill it. So there's a concept, but if you do that, let's say you start putting it in a warm water, then you start raising the temperature little by little by little, then it will be able to cope with it much better. So this concept is called the concept of systematic desensitization. There are things that we fear because of whatever reason, some incident in the past, maybe something that we have inherited in our DNA because of our past lifetimes. The systematic desensitization can be carried out by tackling it very, very systematically. Like, for example, if you have a fear of public speaking, you can join Toastmasters, try to speak for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, until you will surprise yourself to talk for 10 minutes without any fear. You're trying to tackle it, right? If you have a fear of closed spaces, traveling in aeroplane, empower yourself with knowledge to see, does it truly is a reason for you to get fearful about? Or the elevators, how many accidents happen in elevators? Very rare. And odds of a plane crashing are much lesser than somebody, trying to cross a road and car running over them. Right. So just by arming yourself in knowledge and rewiring your neurons can go a long way in systematically desensitizing yourself to the fear that you have inculcated or cultivated in your mind for whatever reason. Second is scaling. Scaling means you're suffering with some fear. Something is making you worry. Now, on the scale of 10, what is the worst that can happen in that scenario? I'm not asking you to accept it, okay? That is another tool. If you are brave enough to do that, sure. But on a scale of 10, think of the worst case scenario. Is the worst happening? No. Then you start to calibrate how much you should really be fearful about that situation. If the worst has not happened, there is something for you to take positive out of that as well. Right? I told you a story of a girl, where she said, "Mom, you know what? I stole a scooty, because I was in a hurry. And while I was driving back to my hostel, I fell down. I had an accident. And because of that accident, my foot broke. And because my foot broke, but nothing to worry. There was a boy who came and helped me out with that. And as a matter of fact, we fell in love. And you know what? I was about to tell you that, we got married soon after. But I thought I will tell you all at once when I come in our summer vacation, because we are expecting our first baby as well. And by the way, it was intercaste, not inter-religion marriage. So, but nothing to worry. He's very much like us only. So you can imagine the reaction of her mother. And in the note, she had said, "Nothing to worry, Mom. I just flunked my physics exam." Just trying to put things in perspective for you. If things have to go wrong, how wrong they can go. So when we scale or calibrate our fear, we think how worse it can get. And if it is not worse, then we look at it in perspective. Am I really cooking up stories in my head, which is making me worry unnecessarily about it? That technique helps as well. And the third one is, of course, the knowledge, educating yourself. Right? The flights, they don't crash every second day for you to get fearful as soon as you on board a flight. And you start replacing it with the other higher things, the faith aspect. Anyway, we're talking about having faith in God and stuff like that and his plans. But even if you're not reached that stage, these simple tools would help you tackle your fears much more rationally and systematically. All right. Any questions on this or what we have discussed so far, age of God and the concepts that we have spoken about today? Because we have 10 minutes and we would like to have a bit of a discussion. 2 hands, I say. Let's wrap those up, and then we will try to finish up our session in 900 seconds, no later than that, after 10 o'clock. That way we can wrap it up on time, and we should end it when people think there should be a little more, rather than end it when people say, "Oh, you've had enough of it." 15 more minutes, officially 10, but next 15 minutes are for participants who are interested in adding the devotional aspect, which we usually don't get when we are discussing the theory. So we are going to do some chants and get into devotion for next 15 minutes. But before that, we can take maybe a couple of questions real quick.
Okay, Manoranjan ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Manoranjan ji, Radhe Radhe. Namaskar.
We can't hear you, Manoranjan ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, sorry. Yeah, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, as usual, thank you, Nitinji and team, for bringing such beautiful concepts from where we can learn, and in that process we can maneuver ourselves. So now today the sloka actually which we are discussing is a very important one. All the slokas of Gita are important, but let us have a concept on this. When actually Arjuna is not willing to fight. Now, why he is not willing to fight? Because he says that there are my teachers are there, my ancestors, my parents are there. So what he says that if I kill them, then that is the end. But Krishna is trying to say that no, that is not the end, because there is never an end to energies. Energies,
Yes,
because as we have studied in physics. Sorry.
Yes, we spoke about that concept. Is there a question you had, Manoranjan ji?
Yeah, no. I want to share a perspective. So on this actually, Sant Kabir says, I will like to share one doha of Sant Kabir. So Sant Kabir says, कि जिस मरने से सब डरे मेरा मन आनंद कब पाए कब मरे पूरन परमानंद कबीरा पूरन paramanand. So correlating to this sloka, actually Kabir says that people fear to die, but the question here is that I am very interested to die. I like to die. Then why he says like this, I like to die? Because he says, when I die, maybe it is possible that I shall unite myself with the Satchitananda, the Paramananda, the creator of the universe. God knows, who knows, it is possible. So therefore, need not worry to die. In fact, actually, you should prepare yourself to die so that maybe it is possible that in your next birth, you will get something better, good. Thank you.
Wonderful. They say life is a preparation and death is an examination. So yes, if we have passed that examination with flying colors, then Sant Kabir's doha that you so beautifully narrated, Manoranjan ji, that will come true for sure. So yes, thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, maybe two more hands and then we move on to our devotional segment. I know a few names who had already expressed their interest, so we can get started. Like I said, we have a hard stop at 10:15. So we'll try to stick to that timeline now. Yes, Rahul?
Yeah, Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, you mentioned about 3 spiritual laws and you said there is a 4th. So
okay,
please
let's reserve it for tomorrow so that people join. I will put in 4th, 5th, 6th, so such laws will keep on bringing in. Okay, it's important to make note of it because that will shatter the illusions our mind has created for us, and you can just say, all right, this is a fact now, no second guessing about that. So I'll introduce that tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me. Let's save something for tomorrow as well. Okay.
Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe.
By the way, tomorrow we're going to discuss about God. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting topic to talk about God.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, Sandhya ji, and everyone. That's a good idea, Nitin ji. Like, keeping some suspense for later. Like, when we used to go to movies, just before the interval, like they have a very suspenseful action, and then you want to rush back, right, without to miss the first scene after. So, yeah, we always look forward to your sessions. One question I had is, if we say that we are all of the same age as God, now, whom are we saying we all, meaning all souls? Why is the population keeping on increasing though?
Okay, now that's a fair question. So see, again, our view around this whole thing is very myopic, right? When we talk about population, what is your frame of reference? Is it your planet Earth alone? Is it your Brahmand? Is it the 10-headed Brahma's Brahmand? Is it 100-headed Brahma's Brahmand? Is it million-headed Brahma's Brahmand? Which population are you talking about? Yes, in general, Earth's population, 7 billion. I think it's more than 7 billion right now. But souls, there are infinite souls. So we don't know if it's increasing or they are getting recycled. There are so many dimensions of Brahmand as well. So it's not just Earth alone where you can say that, okay, population is increasing. That means are new souls getting created? No, we don't know. They might be getting transferred across different Brahmans. Our reference is very limited at this point.
Also, other species other than humans.
Other species are there, right? Some are getting.
But other species, I thought about it. Other species to become humans, they need to do some really great work, right?
They might have done, right? You might have killed a mosquito and it would have taken a privilege to become a human in next life. We don't know. God only knows that. And secondly, we are discounting the other life forms. We are only thinking about human forms here. What about people who might be having a body of fire, body of air? There's so many dynamics to it. It's a moot point to even think about it. Let's simply stick to the fact that God is saying you have always existed. All Jivatmas have existed, and those Jivatmas are not just humans on Earth. Okay, it goes much beyond that. Okay.
Yeah. Sushila ji had also asked the same question and you have answered. So I think.
Yeah, it's not just Earth that we should think about. There are a lot of dynamics and dimensions to it.
Okay. Manish ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Manish ji.
Radhe Radhe. I just wanted to share a small story I heard from Swamiji regarding why we're here. He was asked that question. So earlier, before when he started doing lectures, there was a student. I'm sorry.
Yes, student who took him to a movie, right? Yes, we heard that.
Yeah. If you know it, you can share it. I just wanted to share that. So
no worries.
thank you.
It's the same. That's why I brought in that movie clipping. So Swamiji, he said, why we are here? And then Swamiji said, okay, let's go for a movie in the evening. He said, how many? He said, 2 tickets. And he said, who will be the other person? He said, I'll watch with you. And when they went into the hall, they started watching movies. Swamiji asked him something. He said, oh, he pushed his hand aside. He had forgotten that he's watching movie with Swamiji. He got so absorbed in that movie. So Swamiji put the question back on me. He turned the tables on him. He said, why are we here? And he was zapped. He had to really think, why am I here, kind of a deal. It's the same thing with us as well. We have started to participate in this movie called Life, Human Life. And we keep on repeating here because we are not really satisfied or completely convinced that, the real happiness that we are seeking is in God only. We think that this next job or getting that promotion or cracking that entrance or getting that milestone in life going to give us happiness. It doesn't work that way. Scriptures say.
Thank you, Manish, for reminding us of that story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manish.
Urvi and
so are we moving to the devotional segment already?
Are they here for the devotional segment?
Good to see you, Anubhuti. Urvi.
Radhe, everyone. Actually, we had a question regarding fears we were discussing. So 2 of our fears are same, we realized. And actually, first is trusting people. And that is related to some of the past experiences. Like, we're not very street smart. And then, people tend to misuse. And then second is that if we do anything against the assurance of if we don't have the assurance of our parents into whatever we do, we have a fear and like at the back of our mind, we're doing everything, but still we have that fear segment.
Yeah, somewhere inside us, we know that we are doing right, but it's against the will of our parents. So how to overcome that fear?
We will need some practical tips from people who have gone through that and figured out how to navigate that. Basically, street smart part of it is like Maharajji says and Swamiji explains that buddhi in world and man in God. So street smart, these are the dualities we have to deal with and utilize. It's a bit difficult, right? How do you become street smart and again at the same time be bhola bhala in front of God? How do we manage to do that? So I always look up to Swamiji. He's gentle and yet firm. And then he's compassionate and at the same time stern. So the way he's able to carry both of these attributes, that is something to be emulated and looked upon. So when it comes to the world, you don't become skeptical about it. Just be cautious and exercise that caution, right? And that is something over time you will get better at it. If you have had bad experiences, one way is to paint the world bad, right? You say journalize the world and say the world is the bad place to live in. You don't become skeptical. You just be cautious about it. That this world is, everybody's mayadheen. They will be working out of their self-interest. Everybody is seeking happiness and they are selfish. And so are we. So it is quite possible that they are operating out of that selfishness, which may not serve your purpose at that point, right? That includes everybody around us, every relation, by the way. So you look at it in perspective and figure out a smart way to deal with it without creating conflicts. And the whole art of life is to learn how to navigate. That navigation is the key. If you don't learn to navigate, then conflicts happen. And when conflicts happen, then our spirituality or our devotion takes a beating, because then your mind space goes, okay, this person said this, that thing, they are pushing. So this whole art is to be first arm yourself with right knowledge and then learn to navigate smartly, deftly, and avoid conflicts as much as possible. That would be my 2 cents, but people can tell you through their experiences. I've learned it the hard way, where you face and learn to pick your battles. The stage of life you are in, you can't pick all the battles. Maybe once 5 years down the line, you'll have more choices. So see, is it a temporary phenomena? Is it a permanent phenomena? Can you do something about, just dealing with it tactfully as opposed to picking up a fight or a confrontation or a conflict with somebody? So those are the strategies you would have to devise, because if you don't do that, then you will struggle, right? Every time you'll think, okay, this is happening, and unnecessary picking up fights or getting worried about it is not going to help you in devotion and even in your studies for that matter. But people can share their experiences, how they, but you'll have to devise your own strategies around it. Even for spirituality, if you like to recite God's name and spend time, it could be a personal matter. You don't have to wear it on your sleeve all the time. If you are doing Radhe Radhe or Hare Krishna quietly in your mind, nobody can challenge you. Nobody would even come to know. And if it means you have to just put up a face in front of others because you are forced to meet them, sure, manage it, but silently you can continue with your chants or your practice. So those are the strategies you would have to devise, because navigation is the key. Otherwise, you will be worn out by so many unnecessary things and it will not really help. Right? And everybody has their own way of looking at it, right? Even for parents, they have certain expectations because of what they have seen around, right? Their motivations might be because of the societal pressure that they have, or the expectation they build from their kids. This is how it should be. This is how it should be. At this stage of life, this should have happened. So they're also operating out of their limited understanding and ignorance. When you start understanding the big picture, learn to deal it with responsibly, with respect, and deftly, so that conflicts don't get created. And at the same time, you are focused. You stay focused on your studies and continue with your devotion.
Yeah, if I could also just, I think Nitinji said it. I mean, it coming from experience only. I think, as he said very rightly, if you keep empowering your intellect with the divine wisdom day by day, you will start gaining that confidence and overcoming that fear that maybe I could be doing wrong, even if I'm going against what they think is right? And I think one more point was about, I think, trust you asked, right? We end up trusting others, and that could also be wrong. And I mean, again, I think it's about remembering that people in this world, we are all bound by Maya. So we shouldn't be surprised if someone does something we were expecting them to not do. So we are all ignorant souls and we are all bound by Maya. So that can happen. So the only thing I think that can strengthen us is the divine wisdom. And we keep on revising it, keep on learning it, like Nitinji is telling us so nicely. I think it will help us in navigating through different situations.
Maharaji says that in this world, anybody can say anything to anyone at any time, and you should not be surprised. It's like, oh, how could that person say that to me? That element of surprise, take it out of the equation, because we are all Mayadhin. So the day we are stopped getting surprised, I think we are cutting a corner spiritually. Okay, but if you have a particular thing, we can certainly discuss offline. But I get your concerns. It's a bit tricky situation. Okay, I know we are rushing close to the time. Maybe one question we can take, and then we will have two participants. One who are going to recite, and we'll end up with chanting. Payalji, are you around? Payalji is all geared up. I can see that. And then Sandhya, you wanted to sing as well today? Or Jerry ji wanted
we could sing together.
You wanted to, Anubhuti wanted to. So we'll probably have 3 hands, and then we'll wrap up the session. I know we are getting a little over time. Likit ji, real quick.
Radhe Radhe Likit ji, please go
We'll
ahead.
take 3 hands only today for singing.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji and everyone. So I have one question related to Karma Yoga, and maybe it's somewhat unrelated to today's topic. The question is that we shouldn't have confidence that we used to achieve our ultimate goal when we take this path or be in this field. Let's say, for example, I am trying to choose my course for the future studies, and with respect to that course, before choosing, I should know that if I take this course, I can do well. I can I can get good scores, which would be helpful in my future career. I have certain skills and talents which I've developed through my hard work and by God's grace. So, and this is actually the result, and I should have confidence on this result. But with respect to the Karma Yoga, I am feeling that you shouldn't have confidence on the result. Just focus on the present work which you are doing. So I want to know, is this truly the way to think, or there is other side of it?
So when we get into Karam Yoga, which we will as part of chapter 2, we'll get into more details quickly, real quick, because for the sake of time, it's not a 2-minute discussion. If you fill in the feedback tracker, we can have more discussion on it. Karam Yoga does not tell you not to set goals, set up goals. Okay, Karam Yoga tells you to put in your 100%, 200% for everything that you do, but don't get attached to the results part of it. That doesn't mean you don't plan. That doesn't mean you don't take intelligent decisions which maximize the odds of your success in life. Okay, Karma Yoga is not telling you that, but all it says is after you have put in your best, leave to God the rest. That's essentially what it says. But we can go more deeper into that, Likitji, because it's a big conversation. For the sake of time, let's if it's real quick, let's do that because we have few things to cover now. But you've put it in the feedback tracker. I'll give you an offline call and we can discuss this topic in more detail. We are anyway going to touch it in more detail for the benefit of everybody when we get into the Karma Yoga part of it in chapter 2.
Yes, just a small thing is that is having confidence on our goal or result, is it wrong that we used to achieve this?
No, in fact, a devotee is always confident that because he feels the power of God with him, he knows that he has infinite potential. But at the same time, he has acceptance around the results. Just because you are confident does not mean you will become disappointed. Okay, so these two things are totally different. You are confident does not mean because you were confident, now you'll be disappointed because I was confident and things did not work out the way you wanted. So confidence, yes, you always proceed with confidence, but have acceptance in results. So confidence is a good thing and you should always have that. Self-confidence is a good thing. With an understanding that God is there, it's all his power and his wish, and the day he makes you his instrument, obviously you can achieve the impossible also, right? If you're actually playing an instrument in God's hand, everything is possible. That confidence should always be there. But if it doesn't happen, that means God did not desire, and that is best for you at that point. That is how we look at it from a Karma Yoga standpoint. Confidence not on your abilities, but abilities that God can enable if he chooses to. Okay, thank you, Likitji. Yes, Levaniji, here we can take your question. It's always good to hear from you.
Levanji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, beautiful lecture. I enjoyed it. I don't have actual question. I wanted to adapt like to my perspective about this growth of population of humankind.
Okay.
Yeah, even if we don't consider the other souls that are besides our plane of existence and our planet, we see that like directly proportionally we see the decrease of other species with the increase of humankind, right? So I think that maybe many species of life are coming into the human form, and there are so many reasons why one can like create attachment and for example get birth in the human form or something. And if you observe how humans are treating the animals, maybe many of them are coming back as humans, and like that's why we have so many conflicts all around and so many wars and so many destruction. And so this may be one of the reasons.
Yes, there are so many formulas that you can apply to that. Law of karma, paying back to somebody if you killed somebody as an animal. So there's just too many dynamics at play. Yeah,
when I was becoming vegetarian, I saw one very beautiful image created on the Vedic basis. It's like man with the head of the bull killing the bull with the head of man, like showing the like cycle of this murdering and violence.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Who knows? Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. Always a pleasure to hear from you, Levanji. Thank you. Now let's move on to our devotional segment that I'm eagerly looking forward to. So shall we start with Urvi and Anubhuti then, our younger Sakhi duos? And younger Sakhi duos.
Okay, Radhe Radhe Urvi and Anubhuti, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Go ahead, go ahead. Have you gotten your guitar and harmonium as well?
So we have it
today,
here, but we've not prepared something on guitar.
You can do it on some other day. By the way, we have two talented. They are going to play guitar and that as well along with it. So you go ahead. Do it unplugged today.
Yeah. Manmohana Manmohana Kanha suno na तुम बिन पाऊं कैसे चैन तरसू तुम्ही को दिन रैन
छोड़ के अपने काशी मथुरा, छोड़ के अपने काशी मथुरा, आके बसो पूरे नैन, तुम बिन पाऊं कैसे कान्हा, तरसू तुम्ही को दिन।
एक पल उजियारा एक पल अंधियारा छाए, मन क्यों ना घबराए, कैसे ना घबराए, मन जो कोई दौरा अपनी राहों में पाए, कौन दिशा जाए, तुम बिन कौन समझाए कान्हा। That's it. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. 2 for tango. You may want to check your audio a little bit. Sometimes it tapers off in between, but we could pick up most part of it. It was very, very nice. So thank you so much. We would love to hear more from you and bring on your instruments as well. But check your audio. It will heighten the the experience if your audio gets fixed as well. Thank you so much, Urvi and Anubhuti. Beautiful.
Beautiful to hear the duo. Amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Very nice. And Anubhuti, you are a good singer. We can make that out. So keep up the good work. All right, Payalji, last but not the least, you can do that. And then we can bring our session to a close with Payalji's bhajan today.
Radhe Radhe Payalji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji, Nitin ji and everyone. Okay, so today I'll be again attempting one very melodious bhajan by Anup Jalota ji. I think many of you might have heard Jag Mein Sundar Hai Do Naam. So let's all sing along. जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम, बोलो राम 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 बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम, बोलो राम 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 बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। माखन ब्रज में एक चुरावे, एक बेर भिलनी के खावे, माखन ब्रज में एक चुरावे, एक बेर भिलनी के खावे। प्रेम भाव से भरे अनोखे, प्रेम भाव से भरे अनोखे, दोनों के है काम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम। जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम, बोलो राम 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 बोलो श्याम 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 बोलो राम 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 बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Beautiful, Payanji.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Payanji.
Perfect. You leave a perfect taste at the end of it, like a dessert does. So, thank you. I have nothing more to say. Let's persist with this thought, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're going to discuss another important topic. Maybe I'll create a short audio clip for that to give you a semblance of what we're going to discuss tomorrow. So, thank you, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity and for staying back. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, everyone. Excited for tomorrow's session. See you all. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Good night and good day.